Hi, we're joined by Emmy award-winning writer Jim Earl, and Jim Earl lives in where do you live again?
In the great doughy white state of Maine.
Right. I was going to say Moose Jaw, but that's not quite right. So you're in Maine.
A lot of moose, a lot of woodchucks, chipmunks, and doughy white people.
Doughy white people. Speaking of doughy white people, you heard what happened up in Alapa, the hurricane. People in the hurricane.
Well, I have glanced at that by chance in the news. Yes.
Right. And well, I see what you mean about it stuttering your video.
Uh-oh.
Oh, well, that's sad. That's just sad, and so because you should be seen and heard, Jim.
It says 83% uploading, 79, 82.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll just blast through that. The hurricane. FEMA hasn't exactly been living up to its promise of helping people, is my understanding. And there's sheriffs who are stopping helicopters from flying in, private helicopters from flying in to help people. And one sheriff offered to puncture somebody's tire if they went in there to go help people. What's going on there? Appalachia, right?
Appalachia?
Appalachia,
North Carolina?
Appalachians. Yes,
North Carolina, Tennessee,
that's right.
parts of Kentucky, right?
The Appalachians.
Well,
Yes.
they had a big hurricane come in where they've never had one before, and they weren't prepared. They weren't on the coast, weren't any big rivers, and suddenly they had a whole big crap load of rain come down on them. For some reason, hurricanes are like 50% more intense and destructive. I can't put my finger on the reason. What could that reason be? I don't know.
Is it the Russians?
Yes, and the vaccine.
And the vaccine. You get the jab, you get a hurricane.
I blame the jab.
Yeah.
I blame the jab for this. Anyway, all the major news shows, which we watch purely for entertainment and frustration, they rarely mention climate change. And when they do, they rarely mention anything about what is causing the climate change. And if they do, they never have any type of urgency about mitigating it or trying to stop it on these shows. It's just it's disaster porn. Like Inside Edition is a big, if you've ever seen it, Inside Edition is a disaster porn show. They have nothing but videotape of people crashing or killing each other and floods.
Right. What do you say to people that say, well, the weather's always changed thousands of years?
Well, that's stupid. It's like saying people have always died for hundreds of years. They've been dying. So why should we care about a pandemic that's stoppable with masks, distancing, ventilation, and vaccines? Live your life.
How would you stop it, Jim? Do you have a plan?
Mitigate?
How would you stop? Climate change, let's say, is man-made, right?
It is. We're not saying it. It is.
Okay. How would we stop it?
Taking it seriously, creating our president, who is currently Joe Biden and perhaps will be Kamala Harris, could declare a climate emergency, take the necessary drastic action that the consensus of climatologists and climate scientists have been saying needs to be taken in order to save the world.
You've got a save the world complex going on, Jim. Everybody should lift themselves up by their own bootstraps, don't you think? Lift yourself up out of climate change.
I want you to lift up my bootstraps. I want somebody else to lift up my own bootstraps.
Yes.
because I'm a climate change queen,
I can see that.
and that's all there is to it. It's a simple task. People admit that a problem is there, and then they act on it. But people don't want to do that. They want to live in a dream world, especially Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And they want their luxuries, they want their selfishness and self-centeredness and their libertarianism, and be damned to everything else.
I can't argue with you, Jim, because you wouldn't listen anyways.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
Are you?
What have you got to say? Let's hear it. You don't believe in climate change?
Yeah, well, I do, and
Man-made?
I believe more in pollution change. I think between the Teflon and the carbon and the oil, it's really screwed us up here. And I do believe in some change in the weather, but it's not going my way. We're supposed to have a terribly bad winter this year up here in northern Canada, and so I'm not getting the benefits of climate change, Jim, is what I'm saying. And neither are the people from Hurricane Helen, right?
Nobody is.
Yeah.
You know who benefits from climate change?
Who, Jim? Who?
Wall Street.
Wall Street.
Oil companies. Authoritarians.
Okay.
They profit off of this. They profit off of it. The small companies go out of business. Think of how many small businesses were just wiped off the map in North Carolina. And what do you think they're going to be replaced by? More small businesses, mom and pop stores? No, those people are broke. They'll probably never come back. You know, Costco and Walmart and Amazon, they're going to take over. So this is all in their benefit.
Right. A lot of seniors go over to Costco to take advantage of that hot dog and pop, though.
Yeah, $1 hot dog.
Yeah, $1.50 up here. So whatever it is.
$1 colon cancer.
So Israel and Hamas, and we're a couple of days away from Coca-Cola should clear up colon cancer, don't you think? It should blow it right out.
Coca-Cola? No,
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper is a real doctor. And
you can clean your sink with Coca-Cola, my friend. You can take rust off your rusty equipment with Coca-Cola.
I've read that, but I've never tried that. I wouldn't advise it, for your carburetor. Pour some into your gas tank. I don't think that'd be good.
Well, let us switch topics if you don't mind.
Oh, sure.
Okay, let's talk about Israel. A couple of days, there's going to be a year anniversary of the Hamas missiles into Israel, and it's still ongoing. In fact, it's even Israel's progressed to the point where Lebanon and Beirut, what a beautiful city that's been destroyed over time. Since the 70s, and beautiful city used to be. And now the one so I've had some time to look into the situation, and I am by no means an expert, so I am confused. Hamas was, let me you tell me if I'm wrong here. Netanyahu used Hamas for his benefit and his gain by feeding Hamas money and having like an opposition that he can politically say, look, I'm here to protect you guys. And then Hamas went off the deep end and threw a whole bunch of missiles into Israel, and it's now drugged in Hezbollah, and it's drugged in Iran. 186 missiles that flew into Israel from Iran.
What do you mean Hamas went off the deep end? You don't think anybody else?
They had motorcycles with kites flying into Israel.
Oh, wow. Geez, imagine that kind of sophisticated weaponry. That's amazing. Who's supplying them? That's amazing.
Exactly. So, you tell
I noticed I noticed you framed this whole situation in a very one-sided way.
I said Netanyahu was really to blame.
Oh, well, you framed it by labeling this as the approaching the 1-year anniversary of the Hamas attack.
Well, it
Israel.
Is. It is.
But it's also something else. It's also the
Okay, what is it?
1 year anniversary of brazen genocide on the part of Israel against the captive population of Palestine, Gaza. And now
Right,
they're doing the same thing to Lebanon. They want to clear that out too, just like they practically bulldozed and destroyed every structure in Palestine. And that's for
right.
the purpose of repopulating it. That's
For the
ethnic cleansing.
purpose of repopulating it. River to the sea is ethnic cleansing as well, my friend.
Yeah, the way. No, it isn't. There are
Oh, it
ways
is.
you can interpret that. No, it
Oh, yeah,
isn't.
yeah, yeah.
It's called. No, it isn't. Just because you say it is doesn't make it so. River to the
I
sea.
just want
River
you
to
to
the
help
sea.
clarify my
Oh,
thoughts here. So,
I'm
go ahead.
here. The, you can use river to the sea uh, in a number of ways. One of which
Hmm.
means free Palestine from the river to the sea.
Right.
That doesn't mean ethnically cleanse or
What is
genocide
Hamas?
against Israel. You know,
What is Hamas saying when they say it, though?
you'd have to ask Hamas that. Hamas is not Palestine. I'm sorry to break that news to you, but you know,
I'm with you on that.
yeah, yeah.
In fact, Hamas is so when were they were voted by the people to represent them on that part of Palestine in 2015, and they haven't had a vote since. I think a lot of Palestinians, from what
Mhm.
I've been reading and watching, don't want Hamas there.
No, they don't. But when you have, and also that's kind of a
Misnomer?
misinterpretation of what actually happened there. With Hamas never got a plurality of the vote,
Nope, they
and
never did. No.
the point there is that if when you are a victim of decades of apartheid and brutal treatment
Hmm.
by an occupying force, and you have somebody who stands up to them militarily
Hmm.
uh, and takes over when you have no agency whatsoever for yourself, then you kind of have no choice but to go along with it. You know,
Yeah. No. Totally. Totally. It's like the Republicans if they were to peel off Carolina and make it their own Republican state or something, or Texas, right? Hamas
African,
though, Hamas not a good bunch of individuals though. I don't think.
uh, same thing for Hezbollah, but there are many different types of people in these organizations. There are a lot of civilians in Hezbollah
Hmm.
that are just civilians. They do paperwork or they distribute food or things like that. So that's another collective generalization that is just kind of inaccurate. Not everybody is a full blown terrorist because they're part of an organization. Many people have nowhere else to go or to survive. It's like the Taliban,
Hmm.
recruited a bunch of me-
Excuse me.
young men who, had by giving people food and money, kind of like a fistful of dollars, and going from town to town, controlling the native population by
Right.
giving them protection, whether they
Right.
want it or not.
But the Taliban, another clan that is not very good for human society or for the people. However, it's the one they have, right? So
It's too bad we funded them and we created them practically. Same thing with Al
exactly,
Qaeda. And
Netanyahu created Hamas or made them more stronger too as well.
yeah, well, and also Israel's occupation brought that on just by
Right.
reactive.
Yeah, well, I'm still struggling to come to grips with that because that was Jimmy Carter's thing was the two-state solution, correct? I think in 75
Yeah.
was it? And Anwar Sadat was still alive at the time, but So here's the thing: the PLO, what was his name? Yasser? No, what was the fellow's name? Anyways, they apparently got a lot of money, just like Hamas does, from people, and their sons and their daughters live like princes and princesses, and they have the homes, and they have the food, and the people really don't have anything. Like these organizations have not helped the people in Gaza, because the Palestinians are actually Jordanians, are they not? They were from Jordan, because the
Right.
West Bank was owned by Jordan,
The Arabic
and
population was there, over 50 years ago, 100 years ago. So I don't.
well, how,
If you're going to go back to who was there first, then that's an endless
well
rabbit hole.
that is, especially with Israel having 3,000 years of history there. Yeah, no, I'm just saying that.
Or what about the Neolithic population that was there before Israel?
Yeah, before they found God.
Before they found it, they found God. They found their own God.
Well, that's true. Pagans.
So what are you going to do there? You're going to do a
No, 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 no.
23.
What
I
I
think we should go do a 23andMe test and find the true descendants of those Paleolithic, Neolithic populations, which were big. They had a big societies, big
okay,
civilizations back then. Go see who is their real descendants, and then go and chuck out all the Israelis and all the Palestinians and put
right.
them back there because they need a homeland, right? This whole homeland based on ethnicity and
I agree.
theocracy is
I agree.
barbaric.
Right.
And
Yes,
it,
because they were all Arabian there in Israel, correct? They're all of Arabian, except for now that you got the white Jews who came from Europe. But they were
but
basically Arabian people living there with Nalana Canaan is where the Palestinians were, because there was no country called Palestine, or
no,
they were just Arabians, right?
and
And that,
just because
that
there wasn't a defined country doesn't mean that 700,000 Arab people should be brutally removed and
right.
ethnically
No,
cleansed from their homeland, which
I
is their
agree
homeland.
as
And
well.
before that, it was somebody else's homeland. And before that, it
Right.
was somebody else's homeland.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
But
Um, so my question is, how come the other Arabian nations don't take in the people from Gaza? Egypt's building a big, strong gate, a stronger one than they have now to keep them out. In Jordan, PLO used to be in there, and they had their army was allowed to operate. And then now I'm just thinking about history here, so bear with me. Um, then they found out that the PLO wanted to take the king away, kill him, assassinate, and they kicked him out, and they won't let the Palestinians into Jordan. But what about Saudi? What about Qatar? What about Iran?
well, Iran is in Arabic, it's Persian, and
It's
there are
Persian, yeah.
currently 5 countries that Israel is bombing,
Hmm.
and several of the countries you noted, Saudi Arabia and Jordan are our allies, and have some kind of ties with Israel too. So
Yeah,
it's a big
but
web mess of
it's a
contradictions
myth. I
and
agree with you.
but
But Egypt too, they won't take the Palestinians
well,
because they did that and they got in trouble there.
how did they get in trouble? Just because they couldn't
Uprisings,
handle the well, yeah, and because they don't want to get bombed by Israel either.
right?
I mean, what are you going to do? That what one thing you can do
Hmm.
is stop the apartheid, uh,
I agree.
stop giving money, sending arms to Israel. That
And
would
to Hamas,
that would stop the genocide within a matter of several months. Then they would have to listen to the American president, who currently doesn't give a crap, but if he ever did get a president like Ronald Reagan again, bless his soul, Saint Reagan, the only decent thing he did was stand up to Israel and call them up and say, "Stop this! You know, you're creating another Holocaust."
Well, do you think Donald Trump would fix the situation there in 24 hours, like he would in Ukraine?
If he shot himself in the head, yeah, I think maybe drank some some poison or something. I don't know.
Well, we're talking. Okay, so you're talking about ethnic genocide, the two-state solution. Then, actually, I don't think that's going to be an option, to be honest, because some of the arguments for that is then okay, they'll get their bombs and they'll start shooting over the wall again. What about a
Well,
one-state
maybe if Israel stopped shooting over the fences at civilians
journalists? Yes,
and
and
journalists
journalists. Yeah.
and aid
Okay.
keepers and doctors, and you know, all of this conflict didn't happen out of nowhere. October 7th didn't happen just spontaneously. I mean,
Right.
some things, decades of activity led up to it.
Right. But even you're talking about ethnic genocide. Sorry to go off base here, but even at one time there were 300,000 Jews in Iran. There was lots of Jews in Iraq. There were lots of Jews in Egypt, and they're all seem to be gone, and in Lebanon, and Syria, and Christians. So
You're gonna
who's
have, what are you saying? That they all exterminated them?
well,
I
they
don't
either left
understand what you're
or
saying.
well, they're not there anymore. So obviously, in an Arabian nation, you can't have different beliefs like there used to be. The Arabian nations were at one time the biggest empire this world has ever seen, and till the 7th century, somewhere around there, and you could be any religion you want. They didn't care. And now the whole focus is on hate on both sides, is on hate and eradication, and from the river to the sea.
No, I that was a big gish gallop of generalizations that I can't
It
even
is
focus
because
on.
that's history.
It's,
That's history.
it's just a gish gallop.
I mean,
I don't.
the first program in history against the Jews was by the first people, the
Christians?
Germans, the Crusades, the first Crusade. They killed 2,000 to 3,000 Jews in Germany, and then they went on their way. They were commoners and some knights, and that was the first program in history, anyways.
Well, I don't know how to respond to that, but I just think if we stop apartheid, people would act better towards each other.
Okay, all right. What
I
about a
think
one?
you treat somebody like an animal, they're going to react like an animal.
I agree. You're a very smart man, Jim.
No, I'm not.
What about a one-state solution where the people in Gaza can have residency permits, but they can't vote? That's been suggested.
That's not a solution. That's Jim Crow laws again.
But in Israel, they have people who are Arabian and not Jews, and they're in the Israeli army. And can they vote? I'm not sure.
They don't have the same rights, and it depends on a lot of things. You know, they don't have I don't think they have intermarriage. I don't even think they have gay marriage in Israel. I don't even.
Oh yeah,
Is that legal yet?
Yeah, it is. Apparently, they have gay parades too. You know, it's not legal in Palestine or what we call Gaza, the Gaza Strip. They throw which brings me to this. Like I got a couple of videos, but I'll just hold on. Is this queers for Palestine or gays for Palestine? The support they're getting, yet they would be thrown off a building if they went there.
Oh God, that thing again.
Yeah, that thing again. And
You
I've
know,
got a
you're
couple of
just you're
videos
just
I was
what you're doing
watching.
is just you're just repeating stupid, childish memes
No, no, not at all.
people use to excuse genocide. And yeah,
No, there's no excuse for genocide. There isn't. But there are some. So I've seen some YouTube videos of them asking Palestinian people this, and that's their response is no, thank you. Would you like to see one or two these videos on that? Or I don't have to, but
sure.
you say that's BS is what you're saying?
Think you're making a lot of generalizations again. A blanket,
The whole thing is a
calling.
generalization. I'm trying to get to a point where I can understand what's happening there, and I'm torn.
Just the fact
I
that
don't like
you
I don't
use
like what Israel's doing and whatsoever.
Arab Empire, right? What does that mean? I mean, they're not
They were the biggest empire on this planet at one.
not everyone who is a Muslim
No,
behaves
they
the
weren't
same
Muslim then.
way.
They weren't
Not
Muslim then.
Islam, but today, I mean, use
Well, today, Islam.
Arabs here, Arabs there. You know, they have names. They're Palestinians. They're Arabic. You
They're
know,
gay Gazans. There's no such thing as a well. There was Palestine or Palestinian, which was created by the Romans, the name, the Latin name, and that was Judea.
I'm
Or
looking something up here. Gay rights, LGBT rights in Israel.
yes,
Homosexuality, no censorship, non-binary gender recognition, not legally recognized, housing discrimination, no protections, military, legal, age of consent, legal. Let's see, changing gender. Oh, wait a minute.
well, that has nothing to do with gay.
Gay
Is changing
marriage,
gender.
gay
That,
marriage, gay
yes,
marriage,
is
foreign same-sex marriages recognized only.
okay.
Gay marriage legal but requires medical diagnosis. Oh, that's changing gender. So
Oh,
gay marriage,
they have more rights in Israel than they do in the Gaza or the
the
West Bank.
what is, so
The Gaza
what?
Strip.
What is your point with that? Is that this is the kind
No,
of
I
this is
no,
the kind
my
of thing
point.
that this is the kind of thing that people say in response to someone saying, "Hey,
This gets
Israel
sexy
should."
too,
No,
Jim.
this is the kind of thing that people say. Some people say in response to people saying Israel should not be uh, committing genocide on
Yes.
2 million people.
No, they
Israel
shouldn't.
should not be operating in an apartheid state.
I agree.
This and somebody should not respond with, "Well, if you're gay, you're going to be thrown off a roof."
I think
You
my
know,
point is no, 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 no. You're missing my point. My point is that people are confused on who or what to support, and they don't look into the deep history of the region. And you don't have to go too far or anything, but you get people supporting Hamas, and Hamas has been taking a lot of the food stuff and selling it on the black market, reportedly. I'm going to quotes, air quotes,
yeah.
and
And
the
who's
people
letting them do that? Who controls that whole space? Israel
there.
does. So who's letting Hamas do that or black market happen? Israel is
Okay,
because they
okay,
created
okay,
chaos. And who's
okay.
keeping food from getting where it should be getting? Israel
Okay.
is.
Oh, how?
So what do you mean how? By not letting it in,
Well,
by
that's
by letting it in spurts and then cutting it off again, just like they do medical supplies and shooting
okay.
aid workers and shooting people, food workers, and shooting medical technicians and doctors.
Right.
That's
Okay.
that kind of keeps people from wanting to come back again.
Let me play a video for you. This is where my confusion is getting because I see stuff like this. Okay.
انت عارف انه كل الناس هذه ما حدش لا لاقي شرب واكل
كلهم بيعانوا.
الوضع صعب لا تدخل مساعدات
ما في المساعدات كلها نازله تحت. المساعدات ما بيجوا للامه ولا بيجي للشعب كله. احنا جايين من غزه وكل الدعم بيجي لنا. انا بحكي ما بخافش منهم. انا بحكي لهم كمان. انا كل الدعم بيجي لقطاع
بس
غزه
يا
ولا
حج كتير كتير بيوصل اللي بيوصل إشي قليل وبيتوزع هيك بيحكوا.
كله للبيوت إلهم، خليهم ياخذون ولا يطخون ولا يعملوا اللي بدهم اياه حماس.
حج احنا الان يبدو ان الامور شوي فيها نوع من الغموض.
That's what I mean. I see stuff like that. And so I'm confused.
Well,
Jim?
that's one person's account. It could be an accurate account of what's happening there full scale, or it could be an anecdote. The point being that none of this would be happening if Israel wasn't slaughtering civilians and killing kids. And sorry about the tunnels, but Israel helped build a bunch of tunnels there, and you know, Hamas and Palestine, you know, added to it. Now, what would you do if you were had no place to hide? You'd go in the tunnels, and that's a
for sure.
tunnel is a good way to get stuff across borders when you can't
Okay.
get across the border, to see friends, see relatives, to get food, get medical care.
Jim, I agree with you very much. I just am I wrong in having the impression that Hamas is not necessarily doing the best for the people in Palestine?
No, I never said you were.
Okay. That's what I'm getting at. The thing is, Netanyahu and his government are bad actors. And if you would have had somebody responsible there, I suggest this all wouldn't have happened. However, Hamas did throw those rockets in. They did kidnap those people. So now I'm to the point of, what do you expect? However, then the Israelis are shooting civilians, journalists, and medical workers.
All right.
There's no win here. There's no friggin' win.
I ask you to look at the numbers.
Okay.
Compare 1,400 slaughtered Israelis.
Right.
And compare that to what?
I don't have the numbers on.
At very minimum, 41,000 Palestinians killed, half of them kids. There's a certain amount of Hamas soldiers in there, but then you have to take into account that if your family was decimated, there's accounts of one family having 900 people, 900 members of their family are dead now and under rubble and exploded with bombs by Israel. Now, let me tell you ask you what you would do if your family was killed by a foreign force.
You would
all your
be
friends
making,
are gone.
You would be making enemies for the future by doing that.
Yeah, and where else are you going to go? What are you going to do? Just sit there and starve, or are you going to pick up a gun and get some food and wreak revenge on the first foreigner you can find who invaded your, and killed your family? I mean, this is what's happening. So
no,
1,400 to 40,000, that's the minimum. The Lancet has estimated that it could be top 200,000 by the time this is all over, because there's so many people buried under rubble. Some people who are currently dying of starvation and disease.
Right.
So it's just like what we did to Iraq during the Iraq invasion.
Yes.
Our illegal invasion. Which
was illegal. Yeah.
And that
wasn't backed by the UN at all. I agree. Yeah.
And that has resulted, estimates again by the Lancet, and as causing anywhere from 3 to 4 million deaths since the beginning of the invasion.
Mm-hmm.
Just displacing people. I mean, already 1 million people have been displaced.
Yes.
In Gaza. So they're never coming back. Where are they going to come back? And they'll probably die of starvation. They have disease. They're not getting medical care.
Yeah, that's true. These protests in other countries, like in Canada and stuff, should they be a thing? Should they be allowed to voice their concern about what's going on? I would say, yeah. However, when they start, I don't know. I've got a problem with that too as well. You're coming here to Canada to live, and what do you say to? Can you leave the problems of your old country at home, or are they always reflected in society, in what you do, even if you go to a new country?
Well, if you live in a free democratic state, then you should be allowed freedom of speech and freedom to protest.
I agree.
Here in America, people are being silenced and censored. Professors are losing tenure, being fired. Kids are being drummed out of college for using a certain word in a social media post, or expressing sympathy for the people in Palestine. So that's authoritarian, and that's egregious.
I think you should be able to say that you have, because everybody should have some sympathy for the people in Palestine who are undergoing this. However, if you're a professor and you applaud Hamas invasion on October 6th, I think you should be smart enough not to say anything about that.
Well, why?
You
I mean,
should be
first of all, how many professors have come out and said, "Yeah, Hamas, kill Israelis"? I mean, is that an apocryphal thing, or is that?
Wasn't it Yale? There were 3 university chairmen who wouldn't say that. Actually, I'm not going to talk about that because I don't know I don't have my facts, so I won't. But so, like I say, I'm just trying to get this thing figured out, and I can't do it.
It's like 9/11. You're supposed to. You're either with us or you're against us. The George W. Bush declaration. Well, I don't think we should. I don't think we should be invading Iraq, Mr. President. You're either with us or you're against us.
Yeah. That was totally wrong. At the same time, it wasn't the Jews or the Christians who flew 3 planes into the Twin Towers, right? But they should have went right into Afghanistan, where Osama was at the time, instead of going to Iraq.
Yeah, and they did. They did go into Afghanistan, but they should have left after the job was done.
Mm-hmm.
We're still there. We're still in Iraq, and now we're sending military over into the Mideast to get ready for World War III.
That's the scary part, Jim, and that's why I'm trying to grab some background on it. And all I got is the YouTube rabbit hole, newspapers, Jerusalem Post, ones that are on the side of the Al Jazeera, right? So I having a hard time making sense of this, just like I guess people have for 100 years now.
Well, I advise reading everything Noam Chomsky has written about it.
No.
Okay.
Young Noam Chomsky or old Noam Chomsky?
All Noam Chomsky.
Oh, okay. Well, that you may be there. I don't like his Ukraine stuff, so that's personal taste.
Why what's he said that you don't like about Ukraine that you don't like? He says it's Russia's committed a war crime, right?
Right.
Russia should not have invaded Ukraine. This is a war crime. That's what he says. So he also says that he agrees with the atomic scientists or the doomsday clock people who say because of this, we are currently closer to midnight on the doomsday clock than we ever have been in history.
Okay, you've changed my mind on Chomsky, Jim. Good for you. See what articulating a person's views can do? You can change people's lives this way.
But he's accurately described. See, now you're making judgments before you even hear what the other person says. He has accurately described the history and origins of Zionism and Israel and the atrocities therein, which there are many.
Yes, there is. But Zionism, You can be a Zionist and not Jewish. You're
Um,
just advocating for a land, right?
I
And
don't think Zionism is being Jewish. I don't
no,
associate that at all. I think
you just want to keep those people on their own land. Yeah, but
Zionism was originated with
I'm gonna have a smoke.
white Christian nationalists. The
White
Republican
Christian nationalists. Are you racist? Aren't they just Christian nationalists?
white Christians nationalists.
White Christian nationalists.
Yeah.
You know, you and your white privilege talking about this stuff.
No one is a bigger fan of Israel and helping Israel destroy itself with a massive Mideast war than people who believe in the rapture and conservative.
Yes. Now you're talking about Baptists,
right
Southern
wing,
evangelists,
right wing Christians and evangelists, because it means
That's
the end of the world. It means Jesus coming down and sucking up all the good people, so they can sit at the
300,000 of them. 300,000.
sit at the throne of Jesus and his pet mongoose Rex. All these things that are in Ecclesiastes and
Right. Now, I don't agree with a lot. Like, I had some Jehovah Witnesses come over, and I said, "Hey, what's up with the Old Testament? How come those guys were always taking everybody else's wives and stuff?" And they laughed at that, because I think they're New Testament people. But
are you a religious person?
I've got a family that's religious. I've got a background on it, and but I try to get into, critical thinking. I've got a tough time with some of this stuff. The Talmud, it's got some terrible stuff in there, like really bad stuff.
They all
And
do.
well, yeah, no, they all do, and they don't talk about it much. But these older religions have gotten rid of their bad stuff for the public consumption, except for the Quran. I think the Quran's a young religion, and it needs to get rid of some stuff.
A lot of selective editing and
Yes,
self-delusion that goes on with every religion.
every religion, and it's like and not going too far deep into it because I don't want to get killed. Is you need to be Arabic. Like if you read the Quran, the translation it's gibberish, and then they say, well, you have to read it in Arabic, so you learn Arabic. It's gibberish. Then they say you have to learn classical Arabic, and you still can't make sense of it, is my understanding. And don't shoot me. Don't shoot the messenger.
Well, that's exactly
there's the reference there, but
that's you can take that story and transfer it to Christianity, because that's exactly actually what's been happening from the very beginning.
Right.
With Christianity. Well, you got to translate it from the Greek, and then you got to translate it into Hebrew, and then you got to translate it from. So
no, I totally get it. You can make that same argument. What I'm saying is anybody on the extremist side of religion can do some really bad things, and we've seen it.
Well, I take the Bertrand Russell stance about religion, that all religion is extremist, because belief in a omnipotent, unerring God and having faith in that. Faith is the most dangerous thing in the world, because it's a belief in something for which there is no proof, and so you can justify any horrific act against your fellow human being in the name of the rules of God.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
no, I agree on that. And but so how are we going to solve the Israeli-Palestinian situation, Jim? What's the solution? You got one?
Well, I already said that. Just first.
So you're saying
first you have to stop the killing.
Not to send bombs.
Yes, yeah.
But
Sanctions.
Iran did flow 186 missiles into Israel the other day.
Yeah. So what?
Right.
Sorry, you keep saying that. Israel is the most powerful fucking country in that region, backed by a superpower with no scruples whatsoever, the United States, And with all our money and their money, they
Yes,
are committing genocide.
I hear you.
My tax dollars are killing kids right now, starving people, spreading polio. I don't think
And
that's
money,
right. Yeah,
and
I don't, Gaza isn't doing that. I'm sorry, I don't see Gaza's Iron Dome anywhere, or their huge missile system, or their standing armies, their navy. Where's their air force?
right. I know nothing about Hezbollah hardly. What's going on there? They're against Israel too, as well. Apparently, yeah.
Well, I think they are now. I mean, I think they're.
Wow.
I think they don't want Israel, their army coming in to Lebanon, and
Right.
who would?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a brutal army, and it's a right-wing rogue state based on a theocracy now, and all the level-headed citizens of Israel are probably scared shitless of
I would say yes.
Netanyahu and
Yeah.
his right-wing extremist government,
That's right.
because they're crazy. They're lunatics, and they're
You know,
if anybody's going to use nuclear weapons, it's going to be Israel,
right.
tactical, and Iran maybe has. I don't think Iran has any nuclear weapons. They don't. But our Secretary of State or White House spokesman lied about it the other day. No, we're the only country who's ever used atomic weapons against civilian populations, and we don't have a right to tell people what to do. I mean, what the fuck? If we want to, if we're going to use our military to bomb someone else's nuclear apparatuses, then
right.
we should eradicate ours first.
Good point.
No one should have a right. No one has a right to those weapons.
I know, but the part of the rationale is we do have these weapons. We do have the United States can do so much wrong, but they can do so much right as well. Should they be the world's leader in giving arms away? No. It should help your people and get health care and stuff. I agree with you on that, Jim. However, it is the world we live in right now.
That's it.
So I don't know what to say. So
that's not
Jim,
an excuse. That's not a good reason or an excuse. But no, it isn't.
Well,
I mean, that's just like, that is the world we live in. Throwing my
well, it is. It is. I mean, you got to be pragmatic about it. There's people killing themselves in the Mideast. There's people killing themselves in Eastern Europe.
But that isn't pragmatism. War is not pragmatic, and genocide is not pragmatism. It is extremism, and it's delusional. It's
you know what?
Insane.
Right, and it'll exterminate the human race as we know it.
That and hot dogs. Eating those hot dogs.
$1.50 at Costco, buddy. It's cheap like borscht.
That's
Jim, thank you. Thank you so much for this. I appreciate it. I now know less than I did. Go figure.
My mission is accomplished.
It is. How's the koala doing?
What koala?
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. And clean it with bleach.
Well, that doesn't work.